So, ladies and gentlemen, like you, I am so proud that we have here tonight Salma Hayek.
Thank you. Wow, wow, wow. You have no idea how intimidating you all look from up here. I have stage fright. I have to make this disclaimer. But I cannot think of a better way to celebrate the International Women's Day than here with you tonight. Thank you so much for coming to hear me speak and for watching this film. In the words of Kahlil Gibran, work is love made visible. And this movie was a labor of love for every single person that worked in it. So we are very happy that you got to see it tonight. It's the first time we show it in the UK. I am the producer of the film, but I am also, the reflection of this, I have to choose between. But I'm also, and maybe I'm sure some of you noticed because of my accent, I give my voice to one of the characters in the film, the character of Camila. But tonight I want to share the story with you about a different Camila, a real-life Camila. She is the woman that inspired us to put the name into this character. Camila was a young Lebanese woman that, like many women of her time, had a dream of finding love and making a family. And she did find love, and she was blessed with 4 children. But unfortunately, her dream turned into a nightmare when her husband turned out to be a drinker and a gambler. And after many years of misery, Camila one day said, "Enough is enough." And she decided to make a change. She left everything she knew and everyone she knew in her life, took her 4 children, and after a lot of difficulties and thousands of miles, in 1895 she arrived to the United States. Here she had a new dream. She wanted a better life for her children. And so she earned her living selling scraps of fabric in a basket on the back of her on a basket on her back. But with these, she was actually able to send them to school. And because of her determination to make a better life, her vision for a better life for these kids and her courage, one of those children ended up writing a philosophy book that sold more than 100 million copies. His thoughts touched the hearts of many people, millions and millions around the world, coming from all the different kinds of religions for many different generations. Little did Camila know that her strength would inspire this lovely Middle Eastern man to talk about men and women as 2 equal pillars that stand together on their own. And that he would talk about love as give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping. And that your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life longing for itself. I first noticed the little book, because it's small, written by Kahlil Gibran, in the bedside table of my father, who was Lebanese also, when I was around 5 years old. and I adored my grandfather. To me, the cover of the book is the cover of a man that looks very wise and very mysterious. And to me, it was my grandfather. It looked like my grandfather in my head. And my grandfather, who I was very close to, and okay, right now I'm gonna get into trouble because I have my cousin Adriana somewhere in the audience, and I'm still gonna say it because I believed it. I was the favorite. Of everyone in the family, he loved me the most. Or at least this is how I remember it. Unfortunately, he was the first person that I ever had that passed away. And how I wish I had been able to ask him so many questions, and how I wish that my grandfather could have taught me so many things and that I could have known him better. But later on in life, when I don't remember, I was 18, 19, God knows, I found this book again. And when I read it, it was as if my grandfather was talking to me through the book. I did get to ask him questions. I did get to know him. And he did get to teach me many things about life through this book. So as you can see, I have a personal connection to the book, but this is not the only reason why I wanted to make the film. I saw an opportunity to make a film that was different. I wanted to create a unique film experience where you can become a child, and you can become very childish, and then all of a sudden, the film takes you into a journey and takes you out of this story that it's very sweet and childish. But the journey, it's not anywhere specific that I want to take you. The journey is inside yourself. Every single person takes a poem and finds something different in it. It is important that we take this journey inside ourselves, in our lives. You know, we can be doing other things, but it's important to take this moment to go inside ourselves. And most importantly, I also wanted this experience to be a family experience. I wanted it to be for the whole family to share. And I also wanted this film to be a film for contemplation, communication, and connection. And it's it's strange. We just did a test for the first time with kids from 7 to 17, just to see what would be the reaction. And it was 250, but they did a focus group that I was able to hear and spy on. And it was so interesting because a lot of the kids loved the film. But even the ones that said, I don't know if I liked it or not. I don't know. I've never seen a film like this. By the way, 90% of the people who saw the film, they asked them to compare it to something else, and everybody said nothing. I cannot compare it to anything. But even like there was one guy that said, I don't go see films like this. No. Why? Because I'm cool, and this is like kind of like smart kind of stuff. But he stayed through the whole film. And then the phenomenon happened. Usually, when it's with kids and teenagers, this test, the focus group lasts 20 minutes, half an hour, and then you lose them. And it was done by a professional company that does thousands of them. It's the first time ever that they see anything like it. They wanted to stay and talk. They talked for 2.5 hours. So when I talk about communication and connection, even the ones that I don't know if I like it, but I thought that they go on and on. You could see who had the problem with the mother. They went on and on forever. It drives me crazy when I presented it to distributors. And by the way, I still don't have a distributor in the UK. And they say, kids, teenagers, and young adults are not interested in poetry or philosophy. Okay, first of all, Kids think in metaphors. They are very comfortable with poetry. That's why they love their nursery rhymes. Second of all, if teenagers were not interested in philosophy, we wouldn't have the problem that we have with radicalization. They might not call it philosophy, but they are looking for something. And when we talk about connection, a film for connection, today, our children, the youth minds, understand connection. When they see the word connection, they put equal technology. Connection, technology. This is how they connect to others, and this is how they feel comfortable connecting to other people. And this is very dangerous. It is very dangerous. They are, in a way, brilliant but vulnerable minds. That's why I am part of Chime for Change. And Chime for Change, it's a fantastic movement because we use technology to create connections through people and NGOs so that they can make a change, a positive change in the world. Our main focus is women. And we divide the challenges that women have around the world in 3 categories. We do health, education, and justice. And if you go to the Chime for Change website, not only you will find all the information about what's happening to women around the world, but you can also find a way of participating and helping and making a change. It's different because instead of us saying, oh, we want to do this, give me the money, I'm gonna go do it. No. We want to empower people. We want to empower women, but we want to empower people to connect to what's happening to women around the world. So we give you the information and the tools for everyone because there's so many people that want to do something and they don't know what and they don't know how. And then people go and they find a sense of purpose because this is another thing that our youth is looking for, a sense of purpose. And they can help, and then they can track through technology what is it that what they did, how did it affect that other life. I suggest that you try it with the young adults and your teenagers especially. They can go to their best friend, the computer. They can look up Chime for Change. And it would be beautiful if they could find a sense of purpose in one of our projects and then connect with their friends to try to raise money and then be able to witness the effect that they've had on other people's life. But of all the problems in the world, why does Chime for Change work with women? Well, they say the future of the world is children. And I'm sure that some of you are thinking right now that I'm going to say, well, if you help women, you help children, because it's true. But that's not what I want to say. What I want to say is that, of course, the future of the world is the children because we're going to be gone, they're going to be inherited, and for good or for bad, it is their future. I want to talk about the hope of the world. I think the hope of the world are children and women, because humanity right now, it's in a path of self-destruction. All you have to do is look at the news to see very clearly this is logical, that this is true. And the difference with women is that when we think of humanity, we think of mankind. And this is accurate. Because as of right now, as far as we are today, the world has been ruled by systems created by man. And even when a woman gets in a position of power, she can come up with a brilliant idea. but she still has to make it adjusted so that it works through the systems. She still has to make it fit into the boxes that have been already established. And we need a little bit of more forward thinking. We need to stretch somewhere else so we can do something new. We cannot expect change when we keep repeating the same patterns. History keeps repeating itself. And it's very hard to go somewhere new. I mean, I hear people even, I don't know who I'm going to vote for. It's always the same. It's the same thing. And I think we are a little bit tired of trying to solve the same problems, and they don't really go away. So we need something new. We need a new way of thinking. I think that women could do this. We still really haven't heard the voice of a woman, the vision of a woman. And one thing that I can suspect is that if life grows and forms inside of us, maybe this is why we are more prone to preserve life. I think that we can move the world to the rhythm and to the beat of the human heart. I think we are equipped to, through our instinct and our ingenuity, to solve problems, for problem solving, without the use of violence. I was at some point working with women prisons, and I discovered that the violence in the female prisons and the violence in the men prisons are not even comparable. It is an immense difference. It's almost as if they were two different kinds of institution. Men are a lot more prone to violence. I mean, sometimes, please guys, don't get angry with what I'm going to say, okay? I'm going to say something nice about you too in a moment. Sometimes some men, not all of them, some men complain that our hormones make us too sensitive. This is true. I say that the excess of testosterone, it's a weapon of mass destruction. And I'm not saying that all the systems that men have created have to go away. No, no, no. Men have done wonderful, wonderful things. Even also for peace, have found ways to solve some of the conflicts through peace. Exceptions, but they have been amazing men like Gandhi or Mandela or Martin Luther King. And there's also been some women, you know, that have done amazing contributions in all the film. And look at Germany is doing fantastic. And we have Mother Teresa, we have Marie Curie, we have Malala, so young in education. But it is important that the balance is a little bit more equal, that we have more opportunities, that we are allowed to think somewhere new, and that we are heard for our new ideals. We have to be the two pillars that by standing strong side by side, we can carry a future of hope and not a future of fear. The film you just saw, it's about a little girl that finds her voice. And she finds her voice through poetry. She takes the poetry and turns it into music and many different kinds of art, and she gets from this inspiration for life. It's so important to learn to love life. And she gets also her voice through finding a wonderful, kind man and getting a sense of purpose to help this man who did not see her for all the labels that people put on her. But he had the wisdom to see her spirit and connect to her through her spirit. But she also finds her voice literally standing in the shoulders of her mother, Camila, who supported her. This woman, in spite of all adversity, poverty, loneliness, sadness, the judgment of her neighbors, still finds the strength to sing, to make an effort, to make her little girl smile. And she never, ever loses hope. There are so many women like that around the world that carry in their shoulders all adversity and that have to struggle to keep their humanity and pass it on to their children. We have to fight for their dreams. Like the other Camila, the real-life Camila, who actually fought for her dream and made it to America and put her kids through school. It is her struggle. And no matter what, she never gave up on that dream that created ripple effects. Because when you dream from your heart, and it's truly your dream, and you don't give up on it, you create ripple effects. And because of that, Camila, and those ripple effects, I have the pleasure to be here with you tonight in this International Women's Day to celebrate women. In my dream, I chime for change. I chime so that all the girls around the world have a voice and that they can be heard. I chime so that each one of us never forgets for a second, each one of us, men, women, children, that within us lies the power to change our course and go into the unknown where a better future awaits us. Thank you very much. I think we've had enough of my voice, so I'm going to invite Jude so we can listen to her voice. I didn't use it anything.
Whoa, wonderful. Okay, everything all right here? Checking. All right.
This is okay.
Yeah,
This is
it's
what
okay.
I'm supposed to say.
So I'm just going to, it's all personal. All of these things that people do are personal. And Christine Lagarde was saying this afternoon when she spoke at the final session from Washington. Yep. Okay. She said, I do this as a person, as a woman. I also do it in my professional capacity. You know, she was talking about the fact that in persuading and cajoling the IMF and indeed governments across the world to concentrate on the incredible empowerment that will happen to girls and women if the world allows their potential to be released. She said, I do this as a woman as well as a professional, which was a fantastic statement actually, because in a sense it's a public commitment to put yourself on the line in your own journey in life. And I just wanted to say that, you made no secret of the fact that you were nervous, that you get stage fright. And I was just thinking about what makes somebody like yourself, who could easily just have a fantastic career, which you have got. You do enough already in the arts, but yet you have decided that you personally are going to stand on the line, stand on the stage, commit yourself for change, even though it makes you nervous and sick and upset and worried. And yet there you are, you go forward onto the barricades and you do it. So why do you feel compelled to do that on a personal level? Because it is all about, that personal moment.
I have to say that for many years, I didn't do anything with awareness. I actually did the field trips. And I would you have no idea some of the things I've seen and I've done. I would go into the field, Calcutta, Sierra Leone, South America, all these different places. And some people thought that I was brave, but actually for me, that is easier than talking to you tonight. And I realized I was a little bit hiding in it for years. Mm-hmm. I was sort of like a closet activist because I was so afraid to come out and speak. But, I cannot talk about women's empowerment and not seek for my own empowerment. Mm-hmm. And I also think that if it didn't mean that much to me, I wouldn't put myself through it. But I want to also share with the people things that I have never said anything that people didn't know. Everything I've ever said is things that you all know. But it's good to talk about it and and remind each other of it. And I think that the human connection, it's not just one by one doing the field work. It's important also to feel the energy of the room. And by the way, as scared as I was and as hard as it was before, like for a whole week, I'm a nightmare. After, I go with you in my hearts, because even if I don't see each of the faces perfectly, your energy touches me. And it gives me strength to continue some of the work. And sometimes I can actually see some faces, and it really moves me. It really does.
Well, I think that this is significant, really, because all the time during the WOW Festival, we're talking about personal acts of courage, our own. The personal act of courage to go, I'm not going to let that pass. I'm going to comment on that. I'm going to try and change that. That in a sense, there isn't another group of people who are going to change the world and we'll all wait for them to do it. It is, in the end, us. And we talk a lot about women in history who got us the vote, women in history who got us education, women in history, and men too, who made it possible for us to have any agency whatsoever. So I just absolutely applaud the fact that you have influence, you have some power, and you're using it to such good effect, even though it's making you nervous. But that thing of building stamina between us, I think that's a key thing. It isn't really about, famous people and people who are listening. It's about everybody getting strength from being activists. But I also want to talk about the commitment you made to making this film, because, again, female creative artists, they have a more difficult time. There's less space in the industry. You raised your eyebrow, you know exactly what I'm saying. It's tough.
We get paid less, like in every other profession.
Yeah, and I think also, that women are regularly sort of ridiculed. And yourself, somebody who is as physically compelling as you are, I think that often people will then say, well, isn't that enough? Why do you also need to sort of prove that you are intelligent? Why do you need to take an intellectual role, etc.? I mean, these are things that have been said, not about you, but about, women generally. And you too, okay. But there you are, you've made this complex piece of work because of everything you told us about the subtlety of the message, the profound nature of the message. How was it a difficult film to get made?
Yes, I only do impossible films to get made. Nothing gives me more stamina than somebody telling me, that's impossible, you know? And I really find the very, very most ridiculous ideas that nobody wants to make. I mean, you have to think about when I was going around and saying, I want to do an animation film. I've never done animation. It's the hardest thing you can possibly do. About a philosophy book written by an Arab author, okay? 90 years ago, by the way. And I want to do this experiment where I want to use different art forms, different types of animation within the film. And by the way, this philosophy is told through poetry. And I want to make it for children. I want to make it, but it was the same with Frida. With Frida, I had to go and say, I would like to ask you for money, just the same as this one, for this movie that I'd like to make about these Mexican artists. At the time, if you said the word artist, it was enough for them to kick you outside of the door because they were making no money. She's a woman, artist woman, okay? It's a period piece. It's a love story between this woman that was like hairy and crippled and this fat, ugly man. They were Mexicans. Oh, yes, and by the way, I forgot to tell you, they were communists.
This is your elevator pitch.
Was the same with Ugly Betty, by the way. Frida took me 8 years to convince people to actually get the script right and everything. Ugly Betty was, I'd like to take this Colombian telenovela about this, and the lead is this ugly girl. But she works in fashion. And I'd like to make a 1-hour comedy, because it has to be a comedy, but it has to be 1 hour. By the way, Ugly Betty was the first 1-hour comedy in American television.
But we were talking earlier about Lucille Ball. You know, I don't know whether you know Lucille Ball, great American comedian. I grew up on her.
Of course, I know.
Right?
I love Lucy.
Yeah, I love Lucy, exactly. I mean,
and Ricky Ricardo, he talks like me.
Yeah, it's true, it's true, it's true. Okay, so Lucille Ball was I loved her to bits when I was a little girl. I thought she was amazing. But I didn't realize that she had her own production company, and she sort of took power, didn't she? She made that happen, and she was really powerful by the end.
She did. And I will tell you, you cannot imagine how difficult it is. But I found myself complaining a lot. Because when I first got to the United States, they did tell me go back home. Already for women, this is not a good idea. And if you are Mexican with an accent, it's just never going to happen. And it's true. At the time, it had never really happened, except for when movies were silent. Then you wouldn't know if they were Mexican or not Mexican. And the big Mexican star was called Dolores del Rio. And when technology advanced and the sound came, she had to go back to Mexico because she couldn't get a job. She was a star already. And so I understand why they were saying that to me. But I said, okay, I understand, but I'm going to make a change. I'm going to make that change. And they looked at me like I was completely insane. I would like to see their faces now.
Yes.
And I gotta tell you, and then I found myself complaining now about, but these roles, okay, I'm working, but these roles are awful. I mean, you gotta either play like the hot Latina babe, or the maid, or the gang member. I was like, come on, I wanna be like the English actresses in their period pieces gowns. And of course, everybody laughed at me like you did. And I want like strong female roles. And the Americans girl would say, well, good luck. We can't even get those, They just don't exist. And so I said, okay, well, I can sit here and complain and wait for somebody to do it or to give it to me, or I can make it. So I started my production company, And then when I was able to do it, like with Frida, then I said, now I'm going to do it for other Latina girls. And that's
And is that what you're doing as well?
That's what I was doing with Ugly Betty. And I'm still, well, this movie took 4 years. My production company was completely taken by this film, because it was very important for me to write a love letter to my Middle Eastern background, a lot of the Latin parts, but I had not done anything, and this is important for me too. So I took the time to do that. But now I'm back working at
No, but I think this is an important story, because really what you're saying is that you have had barriers, and you've met the barriers, and you've navigated the barriers, and you're determined to create a new world.
I have never not have barriers.
No. Yeah.
I have never had something that I didn't have to fight for.
And does that then make you identify with other barriers that other women have in other parts of the world? Is that where the trigger comes of empathy, of understanding?
No. No. If I had no barriers at all, never before, I would still have the empathy for the other women. We should not have the empathy because we have the same problem, or I understand, or I identify that problem or that problem, because then you would only be empathic to the one that's having your problem, so it would all be about you. Mm-hmm. No. We are human beings. The pain of other human beings should move us. It is in all of us. If we don't feel anger or sadness when something is happening to another human being, to your brother, and some people don't feel it even with their own brother, but we are all brothers and sisters. You got hypnotized somewhere along the line, because it is in our nature to feel these things for others. Every single one of us has it. If you're alive, if you have a beating heart, if you have a soul, if you have a spirit, it should make you shake. And if it doesn't, then somebody has robbed you from something really important, and you must go find it.
Okay, that's a good message.